What would you say is the most important part of owning a practice but gets often overlooked? Read my book, Uncomplicate Business. You only manage three things: people, time, and money. It's HR, it's HR, it's HR. You know, when I have a patient and they refer in their friend, they already come in with trust. So I just say, well, it's a toothache. You can just pull it and replace it with an implant today or later, or you can save it, the root canal, velvet, and crown. They're both about the same, about 2,500. What do you want to do? See, when it's word of mouth referral, they already trust you, and then they're getting right to the point. How do you have trust in a non-transparent industry? Like when I buy an iPhone, I know what an iPhone is. Why do you think the US dollar is the reserve currency? Everybody knows what it is and looks like around the world. I know this is bottled water, but then I go into your office and you say, I need a MO on 2 and a DO on 3. I need a MO and a DO on 2 and 3. I don't even know what you're saying. Why do you think when I check into a hotel, I lectured 32 to 64 times a year for 3 decades. When I go into a hotel, why did the toilet have a slip of paper around it? Because they're selling the invisible. You weren't here. You don't know a maid cleaned it. She's selling the invisible. At first I was young and dumb. I thought I was just to check my manhood to see if I was man enough to pee that paper in half and break the slip and made a big mess, and I didn't do it, and I felt bad. Why is there, when you order room service, why is there an inch of straw on the top of your straw? Because it's the cooks down in the kitchen saying, dude, it's a clean straw. They're trying to sell the invisible. It's like when you order room service, you get a steak and a baked potato. When they deliver to your room, why is there a piece of parsley next to your steak where you just pick it up and throw it on the floor? What is that about? It's a chef trying to sell the invisible that he's down in the kitchen and that he's gay. And he put a little orange sliver and a little parsley. And he's like, we're gay in the kitchen. And then they come in and you say, oh, you need a mo and a do on 2 and 3. That's why I don't call it mesial, occlusal, distal. Mesial. Did your mama use that word? Did you say to your mom, Mom, I can't find my shoes? They're mesial. Go in your closet, go to the mesial side, they're right there. Where are my shoes? Well, if you would quit putting them on the lingual serve, if your mama didn't use the word drop it, what prevents an interproximal cavity? Flossing. Oh, I noticed you have a flossing cavity right there. You probably chew on that side. And they're thinking, flossing cavity? I've never flossed. I bet it's highly likely I could have a flossing cavity. If you say you have an MO on 2 and a DO on 3, what is that? A meso-occlusal and a distal? They don't know what you're talking about. Then you show them a little black thing on an x-ray and they nod their head yes because they don't want to appear stupid. And my gosh, I just say it's HR. And how do you build up a practice? You have to build up a team. And if your average team member has been with you 5 years, your average patient will probably stay with you 5 years. And if your average staff has been with you 10 years, your average patient will stay with you 10 years. If every time they come in your office, it's a different hygienist. Oh yeah, I'd like to get my teeth cleaned with Megan. Can I sketch out Megan? Oh, I'm sorry, Megan doesn't work here anymore. We fired her ass 6 months ago, that lazy bitch. We got a new girl. Would you like to see Karen? And they're like, oh my God, I love Megan. We were the same age. We both had 2 kids. We were both married to blah, 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 an ASU guy or whatever. And it's all relationship based. Everything you do is sold on trust. When I go to my proctologist every 5 years, he does a scan, and then if they see something cut out, and he asks me when I'm done, he says, do you want to see it? No, I don't want to see it. I'm not a proctologist. If you showed it to me, what am I going to ask? Can I substitute it for a meatball and spaghetti? I don't know if it's good or bad. Are there supposed to be green balls growing up in your anus? You're a proctologist. You do your job. My job is to trust you, and that's why the repairman, Graylick, across the street from me, we always tell each other we have the same job. He's a mechanic, and I'm a dentist. I grew up with 5 sisters. I played Barbie dolls till I was 10. I think the saddest day of my life was when I took home a friend from a Blessed Sacrament. His name was Mark Bordelon, and he was the first guy that's going to spend the night with me. He walked to my room, and he said, if my sisters put their Barbie dolls in my room, I'd punch them. And I'm like, these are all my Barbie dolls. And he just turned around and left. And I'm just like, and then I realized that my 5 sisters weren't guys, and I had to give away each one. It was the most melodramatic crying bowling weekend I ever had. So when I go into a car lot and they say, dude, you hear that? That's your lifters. You know, I can dress a Ken doll 80 different ways. I don't even know what a lifter is. And how do you hear your lifters if you have third eye blind going at 80 watts, blowing out your eardrums? And then they come to you and they said to me, Alexis, you know, every once in a while they come to me and say, on your oil change, you want 30 weight or 40 weight? I'm like, look at my fingernails and then look at yours. Okay, if you don't know, thank you for telling me. I need to go see the manager. Hey, sir, I played Barbie dolls till I was 10. I'm a dentist, and your guy here is asking me if I should use 30 weight or 40 weight. I freaking don't even know what that is. I mean, why are you asking me? How would you like to be in the middle of a surgery, brain cancer? They wake up. Hey, wake up. We saw another speck over here. Do you think we should scoop that out too? Jesus Christ, aren't you the neurologist? Don't you decide these decisions? Treat other people like you want to be treated. It's all HR, and HR, it's the same skills with your wife, your kids, your practice. By the way, I remember when they came out with that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and a lot of people came back to that book and said, why would you listen to this book? I mean, it sold like 10 million copies out of the gate. And the biggest pushback was, well, why would you listen to this guy? He's been divorced 5 times. I don't know. I would think if you got married and divorced 5 times, you'd probably know a shitload about things that cause divorce and to correct it. I mean, if I was addicted to meth and I was getting into meth, who would I go to? Talk to a virgin nun? I mean, who's never even seen meth? I would think someone who was a meth head for 10 years probably has more advice about meth than someone who's never seen meth. So the bottom line is the most important part of your business is relationships. It's HR. It's about talking straight with people, talking simple talk, being honest, talking to them like you'd want them to talk to you, not holding the fact over, well, I'm the man of the house, I make the money, so my wife and kids got to do what I say. No, that's abusive. That's controlling. When I go in there, I don't say Dr. Howard Farran. Look at my social media. Twitter, Instagram, everything's just Howard Fred. I don't need some initials behind my name. I'm Howard. And I go in there and I would tell the patients, I'm Howard, great to meet you. I'd always want to touch them. That's a social animal thing. Shake their hand, pat their shoulder, a bowl a deal. And then when I was done, what I would do is I would open up if you open up your deal and you can forward your contact and it's called, share contact, and then I go to text, and then I hand it to the patient and say, type in your cell phone number. They type in their cell phone number and say, look, if anything ever goes wrong, I want to be the first to know it. You got my home number, you got my home address, my office, my email. Because look, say I do a filling on your tooth, and you can never eat on the right side again, so you hate me and you go to another dentist. Well, if you don't tell me, I'm going to keep doing it that way. If I'm a shitty dentist, I'm only going to know when you tell me I suck. But if you won't tell me I suck and you go somewhere else, that doesn't help the next guy. So I need you to be straight with me. If something goes wrong, I want to be the first to know about it. And it's all about patient retention. And your hygienist says, this is what went down with the patient. But the patient says something entirely different. And then your assistant tells you she'd believe the patient. But the deal is, you just get involved. And again, you go to these DSOs. It's all leverage. It's highly leveraged. And a contraction, I think half of them could easily get wiped out during a deleveraging. But dude, they're dental DSOs that can't keep the dentist for a year. I mean, imagine if the place was auto mechanics and they couldn't keep a mechanic for a year. I mean, that's a bad sign. So here's what you do. The worst drug in the world is not heroin, it's not meth, it's not cocaine, and what it is new patients. Because you get 40 new patients a month. You advertise, you got a marketing agency that gives you 40 new patients a month, and they've been giving them to you every month for 40 years, and you still only have one hygienist. If you got 40 new patients a month for 10 years, you'd have to have 5 full-time hygienists cleaning teeth 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, just on these new patients. But every time you get a new patient, one falls off the chart. But since you get a new patient, you don't care why the last one fell off. That's why the greatest companies all come from small towns. Like Walmart came from Bentonville, Arkansas, and I remember reading his book. And my gosh, a patient would come in town and say, well, my wife, you can tell Helen after church, I went into your place, I bought some high heel shoes, that heel fell off. I took it back to exchange it, and they say, oh, we just sell it, we're not responsible for it. Well, let me tell you something, there's 2,000 people live in Bentonville, but there's now only 1,995, and we will never go to your place again. So she would tell Sam that. And Sam say, well, there's nothing I can do. And she's like, what kind of attitude is that? There's something you do. So what, as he got bigger, you know what he'd do? He'd take all the returns and then they'd come back and they'd say, oh, well, I'm going to order 100 more, but here's 10 bad ones that I want to exchange for free. And if they said no, he got rid of the vendors. And guess who didn't play his game? Procter and Gamble. And then he was in 2/3 of the states and P&G wasn't there. P&G, they dissed the wrong guy. So you know what they did? They moved their headquarters to Bentonville because they thought, okay, well, if we move our headquarters there and we put our employees there and all the employees are going to send the same churches and schools and softball games and restaurants, eventually we'll make enough friends because Sam Walton would rather shoot our CEO than talk to him. He hates our guts. But someday those two are going to die. And it took 5 years of networking from the bottom up before Sam forgave P&G and let him come back in. But the bottom line is it all comes down to relationships. And if you go on there and you say, I'm Howard Fran, and and you give them your cell phone number and your email address and you're totally transparent and you give them a refund if it fails. And like someone will come in, they'll do a denture. They'll say, I hate it, my old denture is better, I want my money back. You're like, I'm not going to give it back. Okay, great. So grandma's new denture lives 2 miles from your office, and she's 68. And her mother died at 98. So for 30 years, you're going to have some 68-year-old grandma telling everybody that you're the worst dentist in Bentonville, Arkansas. How good of an idea is that? Wouldn't you rather just make it right? I had a patient one time. I called her and the wife said he refused to talk to you. And I said, well, he'd come in. And she says, well, he says if he came in the office, he'd actually punch you. And I said, okay, that's okay. But I'm looking at his address. He's living on 2119 East Tonto. I'm done for the day. Is there any way I can stop by the house? And she goes, I don't think that'd be a good idea. I said, well, can't I just go to the curb? And she goes, well, I don't recommend it. I did. I drove the curb and I just sat out there and he came walking out. He was madder than a junkyard dog. Before it was over, we were high-fiving, we were laughing, whatever. And he still talks about the time he almost knocked my ass out. And the bottom line is just stay humble. They're humans. There's two sides to every story. It's not, I'm a dentist and you're not. I'll speak and you write. These are my policies. I don't give a shit what you think. Man, we're all stuck on Earth together. We're all in a biosphere. If you took an apple and cut it in half, that red skin is where we live. The whole biosphere, the whole atmosphere is only 60 miles high. That whole apple, that's the 8,000 mile wide diameter. And 90% of life, you can't even see it. I'm going to be so sad we finally discover life on another planet because it's going to be some snot ball on a rock. 90% of all life you can't even see. You're thinking it's going to be some magical Tyrannosaurus Rex and it's going to look like a burger out of some baby's nose. It's going to look like some shit out of an empty diaper. And there's life on another planet. It's a turd. We're all stuck in the biosphere. No one's getting off alive. We've been going around the sun 5 billion laps around the sun. We're all in it together. So just enjoy the ride.